Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 7 Minute Spotlight, where we explore stories, ideas, and concepts that help inspire us and encourage us. I'm Steve Crawford. Today, we're going to talk about investing, but not the kind of investing that we do for money or businesses or anything like that. It'll be the investing of our time and our influence. The monetary side, you put money in and you want to have a rate of return. You expect to get 5%, 10%. You invest in the stock market, it's up and down. You own your own business. You're investing your time and your talent, your treasure into that business so that you can have a return. But the investing that I want to talk about today is something that I experienced and I have experienced throughout my entire life. One of the biggest influences on me here on earth, of course, was my dad. But beyond that, there are different fellows, different men that took an interest in me to help me at different phases of my life. And a shout out to many of them today. And a lot of them are probably not even alive still. I know many of them have passed, but their influence still resonates with me. And it's something that I can pass on to others. For example, there was a guy named Glenn Bernise. Interesting thing about the name Bernise, it's German for burnt iron. And Glenn and I did sales training in South Dakota, probably when I was around 24, 25 years old. And so we would travel a lot in the northern part of South Dakota, attending different meetings and whatnot. And Glenn, if he said it once, he said it 1,000 times. Steve, count your blessings every day, count them one by one. A lot of the things that we learned about sales and interacting with people and products and everything like that, I have forgotten. But I have not forgotten Glenn's reminder that, yes, we all should count our blessings every day. And if we focus on that, we're actually going to have a much better day. In an earlier message, I mentioned a guy named Wei Chang who had immigrated to the St. Louis area from China, and his influence on me, sharing his wisdom, his knowledge about finances, and actually helping me with a small personal loan. But he didn't, other than me paying him some interest for that loan, I'd sit down and talk with him for an hour about finance. I learned more over a bowl of fried rice about finances than I could have if I'd have gone to college, seriously. And he was just willing to share. Another fella, Al Shelsky, would talk to me. Al knew my dad, whose name also happened to be Al, but Al knew my father, but he took an interest in me and shared what he knew about the trucking industry. And there's an accounting concept called contribution to overhead. I'd never heard of it before. Didn't go to college, didn't have an accounting background. And I remember at lunch one day, Al shared the concept of contribution to overhead, basically showing it on a piece of paper at a restaurant that we were at. And I remember it to this day. I use it in my business and I share it with others. There's guys named Ray Peterson, Gard Turnock, Bob Lewis, Jerry Simmons, all had at some point in time an influence on me by their presence, by their comments, by their willingness to share, by their willingness to give me a chance. Another one that's really important too that I learned a lot from was Gary Lohman. Gary worked for the Dale Carnegie courses in South Dakota at the time, and I had been a class member. I did work with him for a while as a salesman. But the thing I learned from Gary is that he always had a comment, and it was part of their training. When somebody would speak, he would have a comment about what the person had said and something about their the way they presented or whatever they had to say. It was very positive and had good content, and it was about the content that the student or the speaker had said. And I asked him, I said, you have such good comments. How are you so well prepared? Well, this is way before we had technology. And he said, Steve, he says, I have every participant's name on a 3x5 card. And when I'm driving to Aberdeen from Sioux Falls on the interstate, the mile markers are 1 mile apart, and I set my cruise control at 60 miles per hour. So it means it takes 1 minute to go from one marker to the other. And I take a 3x5 card and I practice for that 1 minute saying things that I know about that person that are positive, that are their attributes, so that I'm prepared to comment about it. And I thought, wow, think about that. Practice finding positive things and speaking about it with the people that we know. What would our lives be like if we did that? If you sat right now for a minute, set your timer for 60 seconds and think of somebody in your life you work with, maybe it's somebody in your family, it's your spouse, a neighbor, whoever. And for a minute, you just practice positive thoughts and comments about that person. And then eventually you're willing to share them. How would our lives be different if we did that? Because there is so much good out there, but we have a tendency to focus on the bad. And today, I just really want to acknowledge that there were a lot of people that helped shape my life. I started my own business and we've grown it, and it'd be easy for me to say, hey, look what I've done. But I didn't do it myself. There's my dad's influence and all the men that I've mentioned here and others. I'm in an association right now connected with other people, and I learn from them. I say that, some days I'm Yoda and some days I'm Luke. Those of you that get it will get it. And so what can we do to influence others? How can we invest in other people by what we say and by what we contribute to them? And how can we practice making that investment so that we can bring out the best in others? Because I think that's really what we're here for. God has us here so that we can help each other, not just so that we can take up space, do our own thing, and eventually go to heaven. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments about this or suggestions, things you'd like to hear about, drop us a line. Our contact information is on the screen. We're always glad to hear what people think and how we're influencing them. God bless you all. We're looking forward to the next one. Take care and have a great week.